Okay, let's see. Is this thing working? Is this thing on? I guess it is. Standing by. Welcome, Dan. Glad you're here. John's standing by. Marie is sitting by. Tim is here. David Edwards. Not just Dave Edwards, but David Edwards. Welcome. Glad you're here. Let's see. Is Tommy here? Don't see him. Jacob's here. Poster's here. You notice that I made the first post on the YouTube chat, and that's because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So if I scroll back and I see my first post, I know there are none missing, at least that I think. Rich is here. Rich just moved into his new house. Congratulations, sir. Everybody send Rich a housewarming present. Oh, Rich, did you get that bird dog gear I sent you? Don't forget to send the other one. Jesper's here. Kevin Michael Reed is here. Present and accounted for. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. It's going to be an interesting little show today. The vMix Fun Time live show was, well, I don't want to get into the show. Well, we'll get into it a little bit. The vMix Fun Time live show was last night here in the U.S. last night. And one of the things they mentioned on the show is that Tim had put out a bunch of tutorial videos on YouTube yesterday, which actually may have been the day before. I think when I saw it, it said 19 hours. So I guess that could be, Monday night, which would have been Tuesday morning for them. Anyway, one of those was on dynamic inputs, set dynamic inputs in vMix, which also has set dynamic values as a function. And the tutorial was very good. If you haven't seen it, take a few minutes and see it. I think it's 10 or 15 minutes long. It's not long. But it is the kind of thing that you may want to watch more than once, or at least, scrub back and forth, which is what I did. Rich got it. Good. Otis is here. Otis, how are things in Houston these days, Otis? Hot, I bet. So I played with the set dynamic input and set dynamic value and did not get the expected results. So I want to share that with you, show you what I've done. Maybe we can set up some, kind of live and work through them and see how they go. So that'll be some fun. Today, we are coming to you live, hot and overcast. Yeah, well, just wait. Just wait until it's hot and overcast and humid. Muggy. Yeah, we've got just a minute here. I'm trying to take out of my vocabulary, but it is hard once you've established a pattern, a habit. It is hard to break a habit. How many people saw the vMix Fun Time live show last night? Show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3. Come on, put your hand up all the way up. 4, 5. 5 of you saw it. Okay. Well, it was interesting. One of the things that I liked was Martin was talking about the NVIDIA, what was that thing called? Set bar? Expand bar? Anyway, it's something that's going to allow vMix to use much more GPU memory. And Kevin was there, John was there, Tim was there. Dan was not sure what that little symbol is. He was in the house. Otis, I saw Otis come in at the very end. Oh, Chris is here. Hello, Chris. Early in the morning for you, isn't it? Like, gee whiz, 4 o'clock something? He's missed much and he saw the show. All right. SLC, welcome. TV, hola. So anyway, that's going to be cool. vMix is going to benefit from being able to get into all of the memory on the NVIDIA cards. It's not going to make the NVIDIA cards have more CUDA cores, which is what vMix uses to process the video, but in terms of graphics and things like that, it's only 7 a.m. Okay, so you can have coffee and porridge with us. That's good. Welcome, Hakan. Is that it? Hakan or Hakan? Hakan, perhaps. Not sure what the symbol is over the A. And unfortunately, I'm not a very international person. I'm not even a very multi-state person, much less multinational. Oh, it's Frederick. I got the Frederick part. That's good. Okay. And Skalag, would that be the pronunciation? Oh, pronounced Huken. Thank you. Helping me with Huken's name. Good. Well, glad to have you guys. Glad to have you. There we go. We're getting it. I'm just a little Alabama boy. If you don't know Alabama, look on the map. We're in the deep south of the U.S. All right. Well, let's get the show on the road and get into it, shall we? We've got a key here that promises to do lots of different things. So let's press it. And it starts the recording, and it starts the intro, and it mutes the guest mic, if I had a guest mic. I love this. Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. You've officially arrived at the end of the internet. Yes, indeedy. And I am so glad that you're here with us today. It's going to be an interesting show. It's always an interesting show when I go in sort of half-cocked. And I think I'm ready for this show. I really think I am. Last night, at least here in the U.S., last night was the vMix Fun Time Live show. And Martin and Tim from vMix put on a show. They do it monthly, so this was the month. I mean, they didn't have that many days left in April. Holy cow. So they did their April vMix Fun Time Live show. And prior to the show, maybe half a day, maybe even the day before in Australia, they had released 4 or 5 tutorial videos about some of the features in vMix, specifically vMix 24. And one of those was on dynamic inputs and also dynamic values, which are 2 new shortcut kind of things. I say shortcut kind of things because they're not traditional shortcuts in the sense that, you press a button and something happens. These allow you to press a button and then press another button. Hey, sounds like we're going backwards, but really we're going forwards. The idea is that you can take let's say you've got 5 guests on your show, and you would like to mute or unmute them selectively using keys on your keyboard. Excuse me just a second. You could set up, so 5 people muted, that would be 5, and then another 5 people unmuted, that would be another 5. So you could set up 10 buttons on your keyboard to do that. Or with this new set dynamic input, you could set up the 5 guest buttons and then 2 other buttons that would be a mute or an unmute, or in fact, depending on how you set it up, could be 1 button that did the toggle function of mute and unmute. So you've gone from 10 buttons to either 7 or 6, depending on how you want to do it. So I have played with that today. I studied it. I studied it. No, what I did is I went and watched Tim's video. I watched it all the way through once, and then I went back and scrubbed forward and backward, and then worked parallel to him. Say, okay, he's doing this, so I'm going to pause it, and I did what he did. And then I got out ahead of him, and I started figuring out a bunch of stuff. And then I said, this doesn't appear to be working right. So I went back and looked at how he'd done it again, and mine was slightly different. In fact, mine is definitely slightly different today, and perhaps you can critique me and help me understand where I don't understand. I've set up 2 different scenarios. In the first scenario, I have 4 microphones, 2 here in the studio and 2 guests. And I want to mute and unmute those, turn them off and on. Essentially, in vMix, turn the audio off and turn the audio back on for those 4 selected inputs. And then I want to be able to take the same audio sources, and this wouldn't make sense in a traditional production, I don't think, but I want to take those same 4 sources, and I want to, instead of mute their audio, I want to cut their audio back to 50%. And then, now that I've cut their audio to 50%, I want to boost it back up to 100%. So set dynamic input would work for turning the audio off and on, and set dynamic value would work because I'm specifying a value. You remember, you can if you want the audio at 52%, you can do that. So let me share my screen with you, and let's see if we can make some sense of it together. So I should have had something set up here. Let's see, are we on the show tab? And we are going to, let's just hang on. Bear with me just a second. As usual, I'm not well prepared for this. That one, and that one. Okay, wow, that's not much. Okay, so we're going to add an input. We're going to add an NDI desktop capture, select local desktop capture. I think display 2 is this one right here. Nope. So we'll try again. Capture, desktop capture. Sorry for the last minute. I spent my time working on the shortcuts, not working on this stuff. Okay, so let's go here. And let's just throw me up there just so we have something there. And we'll take the lower third off. And what I did is I set up, oh, and let's put the audio mixer, let's dock it back there. Where is that audio mixer thing? Come on, guy, pop out. Oh, we turned it off. Let's turn it back on, and let's dock it. And let's, we can minimize that and minimize that. And let's put the audio mixer out here where we can see more of it. So we got that. Let's minimize that, and that. Okay, so we've got 4 audio inputs here. Number 4, which is a vMix caller. Number 8, which is a vMix caller. Number 14, which is the studio mic. And number 18, sorry, did I say 14? 14 is the studio mic. And 18 is me, my mic. And I am using my trusty XK80. As you can see, it is designed in traditional, it's not a traditional format, it's just craziness. But you can see I've got 8 blue keys here that I have not assigned to anything. So we're going to call those blue 1, blue 2, blue 3, etc., up to blue 8. And then I've got some M keys, some M keys, M, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And all of those I have gone in and pre-show or pre-show and blanked them out. So they don't represent anything. Well, they do now, but I wanted to clear them out. And so I want to use the blue keys to indicate the different audio sources. You know, I think I am, let's see, blue 1 is me, blue 2 is the studio mic, blue 3 is the guest 1 mic, and blue 4 is the guest 2 mic. And then coming back the other direction, blue 8 is my mic for volume. And maybe we can figure out a way to make those work so you don't have to have 2 different sets of mics, but we'll work on that. And then I've got it set up so the M1 button turns the audio off and on. The M2 button sets the audio to 50%, and the M3 button sets the audio to 100%. So you can see, can you see? Can we zoom in? Tom, can you zoom in on the audio mixer? Yes, I can. So let's go here. Let's go into that for just a second. We'll position. We're on the main tab. So let's blow that up a little bit. Let's get that audio mixer there. We'll blow it up some more. Yeah, I'll get those windows out of the way in just a second. But I want you guys to be able to see. There we go. So you can see the audio mixer. You can see the calls. You can't see me. Well, that's okay. We'll walk back through it the other way. Can we do this? Virtual input. Yeah. And position on the virtual input. We're going to reset. Did that do anything? Yeah, that did it. Okay. So we can go back and forth between these two. So, well, no, it doesn't. Okay, never mind. All right, so you'll have to take my word for it. So here on the keyboard, get those lower thirds out of the way for just a second. Can we do that? We need to have a key that gets rid of lower thirds. Hey, there's an idea. So if I want to take my mic and turn it off. So I'm going to select my mic, number one, and then I'm going to hit the turn off key, turn off. So needless to say, I didn't hit the turn off key. Let's try that one again, shall we? All right, so we're going to select my mic, and we're going to hit M1 without hitting anything else. All right, let's see, M1, and then and I'm back on again. So I select Tom's mic, I select audio off. And that was cool. That was cool. Let's see, where's that button? There we go. So let's try again. We'll try it again with one of the guests, And let me go back to the screen cap here so you can see what it would be. So we've got, you can see my audio over there, number 18. You can see number 14, the boom mic, which is the studio mic. Number 8 right here, which is guest 2, and then number 4, which is guest 1. So if on my keyboard I select, let's just select guest 4, guest 2, which is position 4. Boy, it would be helpful if these were labeled. And we'll turn it off. Boom. There it was. Guest 2, mic is off. Guest 1, mic is off. Studio, mic is off. Tom, mic is back on. And what I've found is that, come on, do we have a lower third button? Oh, we do have a lower third button, get it off. What I've found is that I'll press my mic button, and then I can press the M1 button, which is the audio off on button. If I press this a second time, it assumes the previous mic. So I can turn myself off and back on. And back on. Just by pressing that one, because I'm in the state where mic 1 is the active dynamic input. I can do the same thing for mic 4, and we'll switch back over. And so mic 4 is going to be input number 8. So we'll turn that on and off and on and off and on and off. By pressing the same key, we'll turn that on. We'll go to input number 4, turn that guy on, go to input B2, which is the boom mic, and turn that on. And normally you guys would be hearing an echo at this point, but you can't hear an echo right now because that mic is disconnected. So, all right. So now let's take a look at the shortcuts that make all of that happen. So let's go back to, we'll go back to this shot and we'll go down here. I like going in the back door. You can go up to settings and go to shortcuts, but I like to go down here to view shortcuts and then click the edit tab, and that'll bring up the shortcut menu. I'll tell you what, before that I do that, let me just go ahead and sharpen this picture a little bit because that'll help the text be a little clearer. Okay, so we'll go to view shortcuts, we'll go to edit, and I have some local shortcuts here at the top. You can tell because they're in bold, and some of those are the shortcuts for set dynamic input. Whoop, where'd it go? Let's try again. I must have pressed something by accident. Okay, there we go. So I'll walk through this a little bit, and then maybe we can add some more to look at together. So my mic, and I'm just going to double click it to look at it. My mic is controlled by the what I'm calling blue 1 key on the keyboard, which is on my X keys is channel 1, note 2. And so what I've said is we want to set dynamic input 1. And one of the fun things about this is, and I didn't even know this and I should have, is I can type in the word set dynamic and boom, it just pops up. So there we go, set dynamic input 1. And Tim suggested that 99.9% of the time you would use dynamic input 1. That the cases for using dynamic input 2 or dynamic input, let's see, let's go back again, set die. The chances, the cases where we would use 2, 3, or 4 would be extremely rare. And so he didn't even address them. And so I'm setting a dynamic input, and my dynamic input is going to be input number 18. Now, input number 18 happens to be the audio for my mic. And if you look over here, you can see there's number 18 right there. There's my mic. It's active. And so we are essentially preparing by saying we're going to set a dynamic input, and the dynamic input, the input that changes, it's dynamic, currently is value input number 18, and I've just given it the title Tom's mic. So we've got that one, and then we'll look at kind of the second part of that, and that's going to be mic off on. That's on off. Excuse me. That's just a title I gave it. We'll double click that one to look at, and that is on my X keys 80. It's channel 1, note 13, which is my M1 button. Right over here, right there, my M1 button. That's this button, kind of the activator button, kind of the action button. And the function is going to be the audio, because that's what we want to do. We're already identifying it's Tom's mic, and now we're saying on Tom's mic we want to do something with the audio. And this is this particular function in the audio function. I could just do it as an audio off or an audio on. But by doing the audio, just audio by itself, it's a toggle. It goes off and on, whatever state it's in, it goes to the other state. So currently it's on. If we pressed it, it would turn it off. So the function is audio, and the input generally would be, let's see, the input would generally look something like this: preview, and then you've got all your inputs. And for me today, what are we playing with? 69 inputs, so not a whole lot. But there's more. If we scroll up from preview, we can see that there's these other 6 options here: active, hover, dynamic 1, 2, 3, or 4. We're going to select dynamic 1. So our input is, remember, the input is one of our assets. The input is whatever input that has been assigned to dynamic 1. Okay. So the input is dynamic 1. And in this case, I am just giving it a title that, hey, this is an audio toggle. It turns the mic off on. And again, I've made it a local shortcut, so it's easy to find. It's at the top of the shortcut list. So we'll do that there. And then I've got the studio mic. We'll double click that one. And that's just the same. It's a different key, but it's the same function, but a different value. And the studio mic happens to be input number 14, right over here, input number 14. The third one down, the guest one mic, everything the same except it's a different button and a different value. I gave it a different title, of course. And the fourth one, the guest two mic, again, different button, same function, different value, and a different title. So now I have the ability to, with the press of 2 buttons initially and then 1 button after that, turn my mic off and on. And once the dynamic value is my mic, then I can turn it off and on with 1 button. But I can also turn everybody else's off and on if I select their mic and then select this action that I want to take on their mic. Not that I understand this, mind you. I don't understand it. I am just sort of, I forgot to turn my phone off. My apologies if you're trying to call. I'm just working through it. I'm not a full step, maybe just a half step ahead of you, although maybe not. Maybe you've got this and you get it. You get it. All right. So that's the dynamic input. We're setting a dynamic input. The input is going to change, but the function is going to remain the same. In our case, we had 4 inputs. They were all happened to be microphones. And we were turning the audio on a toggle switch off or on, like a light switch. Whatever state it's in, we're going to flip the switch and turn it into the other state. So we had 4 shortcuts that identified our 4 inputs that changed, i.e. they were dynamic. And then 1 kind of action button, the function button, that said what the function was going to be to whichever of the 4 inputs we had previously selected. So on the keyboard, I selected a mic, in this case, my mic, and then a value right down here. Sorry, a function. Don't want to say value because that's something else. A function, and in this case, this M1 button on my lovely XK80. By the way, you can get one of these if you like. They're in our store at easternshorebroadcasting.com. This will mute my mic. And I press the function button, M1, again. We had already predetermined that we were going to use the blue one, B1 right here. And so we're still on B1 until we change it to be something else. But we can turn off my mic by pressing this function button, which will work with any 4 of these microphones. So we select the microphone, then we select the function, the action. Okay. Jan wants to know what happened to my color and exposure settings. Well, it's very simple. Dynamic inputs happened to the lighting got all messed up in here. I didn't have time to fix it. I was playing with functions. Really. Yes. So Sab's here. Welcome. Glad to have you here live for once. Well done. Okay. So that's set dynamic inputs. We had 4 inputs and 1 function. Now, there's a second part to this, and this is a part that I'm a little shaky in, so you may have to correct me. I know Jan will want to. It's a set dynamic value, a value that could adjust. All right, what kind of things have value that adjusts? Well, we're playing with, there's Rooney right there on my forehead. How did he get there? That little guy, he needs to get out of the way. I know, because I changed the overlay 3 to something else. Set dynamic value. What things have value? Well, microphones have value. They have volume, That's a value. And in vMix, you can adjust the volume of a microphone 0 to 100%. You can also set the gain, but you do that by decibels. But I wanted to use 0 to 100%. Dave Edwards says, sorry, nothing practical yet. Well, it depends on what you're doing. You know, if you've got a simple setup, this probably won't help. But if you've got, 30 microphones and you need to be able to control them, maybe this is a value. If you have 50 overlays, maybe this is a value. This would be, as Tim said, probably very helpful in a complex production where you would have a very large work surface with lots of buttons. And this says, hey, you don't need 100 buttons, you only need 40 buttons. Okay, well, we're knocking you down to 40 buttons. And an XK80 has 40 times 2. Okay, enough of that. So let's talk about the set dynamic value. Set dynamic value. Perhaps I've done it wrong. And let me review with you what I've done, and you can critique me. I have set here on the X keys, and I've only done it for one because I ran out of time, this blue 8 button to indicate my mic. Why didn't you use this one, Tom? That's already your mic. Let's don't go there yet. We'll come back to that. But I've got that as my mic, and M2 sets my mic at 50%, and M3 sets my mic at 100%. With the set value, I found out, at least the way I've got it set up, and I don't know if this is the official way or not, that I don't select the input first, I select the value first. So I assign the value of 50%, press that button, and then my microphone. Boom. Now my mic is at 50% value. Having trouble hearing me? Maybe a little bit. Maybe it's better. I'm going to set a value of 100%. And now my mic is back up to 100%. Let me show you what that looks like in vMix. So I am going to press the M2 button, which is Tom's mic at 50%. And now I'm going to press Tom's mic button, which is blue 8. And Tom's mic jumps down to 50%. M3, which is 100%. Tom's mic jumps back up to 100%. And let me show you those shortcuts in vMix, how they look as shortcuts. So we'll go to this little guy for a second, and we'll go down here to View Shortcuts, Edit, and we're here in our shortcuts. By the way, Sap, the banana is my mute button. That mutes me if I have to cough. It's my cough button. It's a big button so that I can find it easily. All right, so we've got set dynamic inputs. Those 4 are the 4 mics, and then the dynamic 1 audio is setting the audio off on. And then I've got a Tom button that sets the volume. So let's take a look at that one for a second. This is MIDI note channel 1, MIDI channel 1, note 58, which just happens to correspond to the blue 8 button. And again, these aren't marked, but I can count to 8. And the function is going to be to set the volume. Set the volume, and it's going to identify my microphone, and it's going to say we're going to set the volume for whatever dynamic 1 is. It's adjustable, it's variable, and this title is Tom's mic volume. So we're identifying my mic, and then we're going to set my mic volume to a different percentage. So we'll take a look. Oops, excuse me, goodness. Here is the 50%er, Let's, there we go. And this happens to be the M2 button, channel 1, note 58. The function is set volume. The input, oh no, I've already been here, sorry. Let's go to this 50% one right there. That's the one we want. Oops, select that one back. That's the one we're looking for. All right, so channel 1, note 21. The function is set dynamic value 1. So it says set dynamic value to use when specifying dynamic 1 as a shortcut value. Okay, well, we want the volume in Tom's mic to have a value of 50%. We're not identifying my mic here, but we're just simply saying when my mic is selected, we're going to give it a value of 50%. And we look at the other one, which is almost like that one. Whoops, come on. There we go. Set dynamic value is going to be 100%. So we've got two buttons that change the mic value 1 to 50%, 1 to 100%. And then one button, because I haven't done the others, and maybe we can set up one of those, that identifies my mic as one as the that needs the dynamic value inserted in it. So let's, just for fun, let's go ahead and set up the studio mic so that we can set the volume on it. And we'll take my mic right here, oops, and let's just clone it. And we will edit it. And we need to give it a new button, so we're going to give it number 7, blue 7. There we go, blue 7. And the function is set volume. Obviously, it's a different input. This is the studio mic, so this is going to be input number 14. There it is right there, the boom mic. The value is dynamic, and the title is going to be Studio. Whoops. Let's try again. Got too many keys on the keyboard. So is this the studio? Can we get all those words in there? Nope. That's close enough. So we've got the studio volume. We've got Tom's volume. Both of them are set volume, identifying two different inputs. And then we have two different dynamic values, one for 100% and one for 50%. Let's go ahead and set up the other two of our inputs. So I'm just going to take the studio and we'll clone it. And we will give it, we're going to make that button 6, blue 6, set volume, and we're going to make this guest number 1. And guest number 1 is input number 4. And we'll make this G1. G1 mic volume. And it's a dynamic. Okay. And then let's clone that one again. And we will go in and give that to blue 5. Set volume, and this is going to be guest 2, which is input number 8, and again it's dynamic, and we are going to take number 2, not number 21. There we go. Okay, so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 set volumes, and then a dynamic value of 100%, dynamic value of 50%. Okay, so let's see how those do. So let's put our mic up there, and we are going to say, we'll do the 50%ers first. So we'll do 50% on guest number 1, 50% on guest number 2, 50% on the studio mic, and last but not least, 50% on my mic. There we go. And we're going to go back to 100% on my mic, 100% on guest 2, 100% on guest 1, and 100% on on the studio mic, the boom mic. Questions? All right, Rudy says the dynamic values example, 2 box, 1 row with your inputs, 1 button for left box, 1 button for right box. Yes, if you wanted to do camera images. Yep, not audios. Gary says instead of Tom's mic, you could use dynamic 1 again as both the input and the value. So the sequence is select input, select volume value, select volume input. So you would have 3 buttons in that case? Interesting. Dan says, great talk, Tom. Question, how's the mouse yellow? That's just a Windows thing. Just go into your mouse properties under settings, and you can make the mouse any color you want and almost any size. But I like yellow because it's easier for me to find when I lose it. Sometimes I've got a big screen over here that I use it on, and the little teeny white mice is harder to find. I think this will benefit folks that use complex productions and that are used to using a traditional switcher, because this functions more like a traditional switcher might have, where you are selecting an input and then assigning a function to it, or selecting a function and executing that function on an input. Peter says another thing, lots of color corrections for any input by button. So the X key is nearly full of options for this specific input. So let's see, color corrections for an input by button. Yeah, I could see that. Yep. Will I use this? That's a good question. I probably won't use that in this situation, but I think I have some clients that will benefit from it, that are doing much more complex setups than I am. And it's like any other, well, I don't know if it's like any other, but it's like a lot of other functions in vMix, is that Martin has conceived of a way people would use this, and then he lets it loose into the wild, and people start doing all sorts of crazy stuff with it that he never intended. So we will have to wait and see just how does this look when it gets into the wild. We're going to go to the post show here in just a second, but I did want to give a shout out to Eastern Shore Broadcasting. That's my company that sponsors Streaming Idiots, and we are a vMix reseller. So if you are anywhere in the world, you can purchase vMix from us. If the exchange rate is right between your currency and dollars, then you get the benefit of that. We don't know where people are from, so we are not charging any type of tax on this at all, except people that are located in our home state of Alabama, USA. We will charge sales tax for folks in Alabama, USA, but we won't charge sales tax outside of that, or value-added tax, or any type of tax. So we would be delighted to sell you vMix for the same price that you get it from vMix directly. Plus the added benefit, especially if you're here in the US or Canada or Mexico, of being able to give somebody a call. vMix doesn't publish a phone number, so there's no telephone technical support from vMix, at least at this point. That may change in the future. So a reseller like Eastern Shore Broadcasting is a great way to get telephone tech support. Plus, we offer the vMix 101 class. We're in the middle of it right now. We just finished our fourth class day. There's 6 class days. one a week for 6 weeks. Boy, I struggled to explain that. And it's 2 hours a day for 6 classes, so 12 hours of instruction. We'll start another class come July, probably late July. So we would love to have anybody in that class. If you have been in the class before, as an alumni, you can take the class again for free, or you can take any single one of the lessons again for free. If you purchase a vMix PC, vMix powered PC from us, you get the class for free. That's just wrapped up in the PC as our effort to help teach you everything that we can possibly teach you about how vMix works on the PC that we build. But if you didn't buy the PC from us, or you haven't had the class in the past, you can purchase the class through our store. I think we've still got the old class offering up in the store right now, and we don't have the dates yet, so you can't really purchase it, but it's $200, and it's a great value. A lot of folks have given us some good, a ton of people have given us good feedback on it, and several folks have actually given us some, what do you call those things? A recommendation, an evaluation. Yeah. So we're glad to have that. Let's go to post show, and so we'll look at some of your questions here in just one moment. I'm going to hit this this great key on my XKeys XK80, which we don't have them in stock. We have to get some more. Maggie, Miranda, y'all need to send me some. Okay, so it's output right here. Oh, sorry, outro. We'll be in pre-show, post-show in just a minute. Phew. All right. Oops, wrong show. There we go. Post show. Woo! All right. Amnon, welcome. Good to be seen by you. Amnon said, and I always thought the only way to control the mic volume level is using a fader on the mixer. Well, Amnon, that's because all your guests are in your studio with you. Unless you have a way that you've routed all of your vMix caller guests to individual inputs on your mixer so that you can control them there. Yeah. vMix Pattern Builder, says Peter, could be perfect with this, all the sliders. Yes, I agree. Yeah, it's going to be fun to integrate some other tools like that. Eric Tabor says, what's up, Tom? What's up, Eric? Glad you're here. All right, Jan says, Tom, you can make a follow me mic button so you always mute and unmute the right mic in your studio. How would I do that? A follow me mic button. It would have to monitor the volume level, the amount of decibels a particular microphone was getting, and select the microphone that had the strongest signal. That would be good. Dan said the magic button X, or the X keys, and get a bunch of buttons, not just one. John says, I am glad to pay for Tom's support even if I purchase from him. Well, thank you. Well, that's the benefit of purchasing, is you get the technical support. Yep. And what I find, honestly, John, is that most folks that are buying vMix for the first time, they need right much support at the beginning. But then they begin, vMix is a Lego set. I can teach you how to put 2 Legos together. But then people start putting the Legos together on their own. And they call me when they can't figure out, a particular workflow issue. Or maybe they have, I had somebody call me the other day because they had a camera problem. vMix was throwing an error message when they tried to add an input for a camera. What they didn't realize was that they could scroll down on the vMix window, and they'd already added that camera 4 or 5 times already, and vMix was like, no more. But that's the kind of thing I'm there for, the kinds of things that just have you pulling your hair out, and you're like, I can't. I know it's simple. I just don't know what simple thing it is. Be happy to help. Sometimes I can diagnose it right like that. Peter says, yes, volume trigger. Yes. Okay. Oh, that would be good. We could do that in here. But yeah, and it would have to listen, but not make the mic active until the mic was the dominant mic. That's a good project. Jan, we need to play with that. We need to play with that for sure. Let's see, what might I have missed in the back here? What's the banana do? The cough button. That's right. Absolutely. And funny thing, Dan, about the cough button is the banana is the cough button, but the banana is the cough button for the studio mic. It is not the cough button for this mic. So if I press that, you can still hear me and I could cough. But if I press this, and that's the right mic, the right cough button. That's what happens when you set up a setup with your X keys, and then you change your setup, but you don't change your X keys. Yeah, done that. Let's see. Peter said someone did this with vMix at YouTube. Set up a volume trigger. Yeah, the vMix guys did. They did a video, well, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago now, showing how to use the volume trigger, not to change mics, but to actually switch inputs. So they had 2 people talking, and the loudest person got their image on the screen. It was pretty cool. John says we have a call scheduled for tomorrow. Well, thank you. I look forward to that. I haven't checked tomorrow's calendar, excuse me, yet, so I don't know what we are doing. We are talking about live streaming. Okay, great. I will look forward to that. That's going to be great. I had a call. It was really fun last night. vMix Funtime Live show, of course, was last night. And so I was watching that. And then Tuesday nights, I'd forgotten on my calendar for folks that want to schedule consulting appointments with me and want to do it in the evening. Tuesday evening is a time that you can do that. And someone had scheduled an appointment with me for last night. And we had a great conversation about a business plan he was thinking of working on weddings, and would PTZ cameras work well with that, and how would that happen? And so we talked all that through. Yep, that was good stuff. Peter says yes. He's thinking about the audio tutorial that Tim and Martin did up. Martin said something really interesting last night, and something that you may want to keep in mind for next spring, which was the last couple of April 1st jokes, but not including last year because that was a crazy year. vMix has joked about something and then actually made it true. 2 years ago, they, as a joke, said that vMix now has a feature called vMix Voice, which will allow you to control vMix by defining some phrases, predetermining some phrases, and assigning those phrases a particular shortcut in vMix. And they actually did that. I mean, they were teasing that they had done it and kind of putting it off like, we haven't really done it. It's really an April Fool's joke, but they really did do it. And I remember doing a show, this show, Streaming Idiot Show, probably a couple of weeks after that, maybe even the following week, maybe even the next day, because they tend to do their vMix Funtime Live shows on Tuesday nights. And of course, this is a Wednesday show here in the US. And so I decided I was going to use that. And I think I had some predetermined phrases that that brought in a picture of Martin or Tim, and perhaps they were saying something. I don't remember. But I hadn't told vMix the accuracy with which I wanted it to be. I left the accuracy probably like at 70%. So vMix thought almost anything I said was that. It was really, really funny because those guys were popping up on the screen. I finally had to turn it off. It was hilarious. It was a disaster, is what it was. It was a disaster. Jan says a scripting project for the vMix scripting Facebook group. If you're not in the vMix scripting Facebook group, you really ought to join. If you're interested in scripting, or if you'd like to share what you know about scripting. Tom's audio switcher and alert script. Ooh, that would be fun. Let's do that. I would get into that. I'm not a script writer, but I think I would have fun trying. Peter F. says, I have lots of issues with Facebook and Twitch comments. You mean issues with the commenter? Or with the comments themselves, the content of the comments? Or perhaps getting access to the comments? Maybe someone can do something about this to improve that. Help us out, Peter. Be a little bit more specific. For example, are you streaming to a Facebook group and would like to glean the comments from that live stream in the group and add those to vMix Social? Well, I would too, but Facebook doesn't allow that. It's a privacy thing in the group. Now you can stream to a Facebook page and vMix will glean the comments from that stream in the Facebook page, and vMix Social will allow you to include those comments, as part of your vMix Social kind of thing. Twitch, I have never used, so I couldn't comment on that. All right, Peter says, no, issues with vMix Social, over 50% comments missing. No, not on the group, in the page. Well, that's interesting. Let me compare what I see here, because I'm getting mostly, you said Facebook and Twitch, and I'm doing YouTube. Well, let's just look at the YouTube here. Yeah, YouTube looks like, let's make sure that Dan's comment was there. Yep, that's there. I'm looking in YouTube at the YouTube comments. I don't see any YouTube comments missing. There's one from Jan I might have missed. Let's see. Did he say hands up a while back? Oh, that was Jan Simpson. Simon. Not Jan. Well, let's look again. Yep, that's right. That's right. Looks like everything is there in YouTube, but I couldn't speak to Facebook. Peter says, yes, we have a stream with more than 100 comments. I can see them in Facebook, but with the same account in vMix Social, just about 50% not showing up. Wow. Have you reported this to vMix? Number one, have you checked the vMix forum to see if other people have noticed this? And I think somebody mentioned it, perhaps Peter, perhaps it was you that mentioned it in the vMix Funtime Live show YouTube comments last night. But I would definitely write vMix support about that and see what they have to say about it. vMix Social, to my knowledge, has not had much done with it since it was released 443 years ago. vMix Social has it was a typical vMix thing of announcing a product and sending it out there into the world before the world was ready for it. Martin Sinclair knew that this would be a thing. And with the pandemic this past year, with lots of people trying to, encourage their audiences to participate, being able to use vMix Social was a big deal, And again, he was right as rain. So I would love to know. Twitch is even worse. Wow. To do. Yes, they say it's a Facebook issue. Interesting. Ron says, Tom, how do you connect two vMix machines that are in different states? Well, a really, really, really long cable. What do you want to connect? You want to connect monitors? You want to share guests? Got to be more specific, Ron. Come on, man. Give me some details. I mean, the answer to the question is you can do it, but depending on what you want to accomplish depends on how you do it. Whether you use SRT to share a video source from one to the other, or whether you use vMix Call in order to have a two-way communication, or whether you use one machine to actually control the other machine. Yeah, Jan is saying set up SRT streams. I get that. Jan says, I wonder if the vMix scripting group will pass 100 members after the show. Well, there are a bunch of them in there already. How many are in the group? Holy cow, there are a bunch. Let's see, do I have a Facebook thing up here somewhere? Let's go to groups and vMix scripting. And vMix scripting currently has, well, I can't tell. Oh, 97 members. So 3 of you guys could push us over the top. Push us over the top. Peter says, if you click on the date of the comment, you can directly select this comment. I would love to have a script to get this link into the database of vMix Social. Cool. Very interesting. All right, Ron says, so both machines can see each other's assets. If you want to see what's going on with another machine, you probably need to set up some sort of remote control so that you can look over the shoulder and watch what's going on in vMix. I mean, certainly, you can set up a local desktop capture in vMix and make that the source for a vMix call from one PC to the next. You wouldn't be able to control anything, but you would be able to see what they were doing on at least one screen. Yep. Peter wants to mess around with the Facebook API. There could be a Google resource out there of somebody that can do that. Oops. I turned on Google resources out there on my phone. Not what I intended. Holy cow. All right, folks. Well, it's been a delight hanging out with you today. I hate to run, but I got to. And we'll talk some more about dynamic values and dynamic inputs as time goes on. And if you have some cool uses for them, drop me a line, Tom at easternshorebroadcasting.com, or you can go to Eastern Shore Broadcasting. There's a contact form there. Or you can go to the Streaming Idiots group if you're a member on Facebook, or if you're not, you can join the Streaming Idiots group on Facebook and comment there. If I can help you in some way, contact me. Yeah, contact. And John and I are going to be talking tomorrow. So, have a great evening. Have a great day wherever you are. Chris, down in New Zealand, have a where it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Have a spectacular day, and I'll see you guys next week. And do I have some fireworks or something that I can send you off with? Let's see. I thought I did. What did I do with it? I had a wonderful fireworks. It said, "Thanks for watching," but it's gone. Darn. Oh well. Catch you later.